number 330, goal setting. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Our show today is brought to you by BusyBench, the all-in-one management tool simplifying IT for computer repair businesses with a clean and simple interface. Spend more time running your business instead of learning your management software. For a free 14-day trial, just go to busybench.com, use the offer code Podnutz for 30% off the life of your account. And also by Untangle Next Generation Firewall, the best solution for bringing powerful network security to your clients in an easy to manage and cost-effective package. Untangle's partnership program helps repair shops add cybersecurity to their services and get up and running quickly. Get started today at untangle.com/podnuts. Let me introduce the co-host. We have Brad Torrey from TTCS Computer Services. Brad, how you doing?
Doing great. And as John just pointed out, yes, I'm broadcasting from my garage.
It's not where you're broadcasting from that's important. It's the content that we're bringing, right?
It's all about the quality. It really is.
Oh, well, it's good to have you. It's been a long time. I know you reached out to me and you thought we were going to start talking about things like starting up or something like that. And I said, no, we're going to do something on goal setting. John Dubinsky is in the middle of traveling, so he said he might not make it. So this worked out perfect, and it's just you and me. So
it's the way, it's the way it was meant to be, Jeff.
So now I'm going to throw you a curveball. And do you have a tip or a story that we could learn from this week?
Well, as I have heard in a few previous shows, a Tory has now become a thing. So I'm looking forward to memes on the internet about Tories. No, I do. Well, first of all, I wish that John was here because he was talking about throwing sugar on the barbecue. And I haven't tried it yet, but like to get a barbecue started.
Yes.
I really would like to try this. It'd be really cool. The other thing, what else is on my notes here? You had talked about sleeping, and I would like to add, get some exercise. It's good for you. It actually helps regulate your sleep. And then the other thing that I have on my notes is if you don't already have a relationship with a contractor, that's a very good thing to have. Like general, could just be a handyman, but somebody who's willing to cut into drywall, patch drywall, mount things that you don't want to be mounting, build you little pieces of wooden hardware or metal brackets, whatever. A contractor is like an invaluable resource in a lot of situations. And I don't have one, so I end up being that guy a lot, and it's cool that I can do stuff, but sometimes I don't want to be cutting into people's walls and stuff, and so then I have to just like have them find a contractor. And I would like anyway. So I'm like kind of in the process of I had a guy, and then he disappeared. I don't know what happened to him, so I got to find a new guy. But recently, I've really found that having a relationship with a contractor would be really awesome.
That's a good tip, because a lot of times we do sit there and try to do things ourselves, and then you got to figure out whether your hourly rate is worth the time and effort of what you're doing. And if you're going from customer to customer, it's a hard thing to say, oh, I'm going to add some extra time in here for cutting into a wall, running a bit of cable, whatever it might be. And so I know a lot of times people don't want to separate themselves from any bit of money that comes into their business. But the reality is you have to do that sometimes to keep your sanity and keep you doing what you're really good at, and let other people do what they're really good at. It's not that we can't do things. It's just a lot of times if we're not doing it on a regular basis, it takes us a lot longer. So yes, in my opinion, not worth it.
Oh, absolutely. If it's not something I do every day, it does take me. I know how to do drywall work, but I do it so infrequently that I'm sure it takes me 3 times longer than a guy that does it every day. And yeah, it does come out better when I do it, but that's not the point.
Yeah. That's a funny story, because the thing with drywall, it's like I can mud and tape, and I can be really, really good at it. The problem is it takes me forever because I'm a
Yeah.
perfectionist
Yes.
versus I can hire somebody to come in for a third of the time, but not even that. Like I don't know, it's a small amount of time. They can come in, they're in and out, gone and done, and I'm moving on to something else. So,
Yeah.
all right. So this morning, Sunday morning, wake up. Actually, I was told last night that the internet kept dropping. What a great day to have the internet drop on the day that you're going to broadcast live after, obviously, as everybody can see, Hangouts on Air has officially died and went to heaven. Google chopped it off and said, we're done. And so we're using another service to do basically the same thing that we were doing previously using StreamYard to live stream the videos. Not a big deal. And we're finding that there's some pretty cool things in there that we can use. So we'll see how that goes over the next months as we continue to use this. But anyways, my internet kept dropping, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out. So I come into my office, I look at the cable modem. Cable modem is off or blinking. And I'm like, okay, that's weird because obviously I came in several times to check it. It would come back on, go off, come back on, go off. So I'm thinking, okay, is my modem dying? That's not a general scenario that you run into most times. You'll have intermittent weird problems, but you're not really going to have where it's like it's off and it's in this constant reboot mode. That just doesn't happen with electronics a whole lot. Not that it can't, it's just not normal. So, anyways, I'm sitting down at my computer and I'm working on some stuff trying to see why it keeps shutting off. I'm thinking, all right, what do we got going on? Well, all of a sudden I'm sitting in front of my computer. I have one monitor shut off. I have my Intel NUC, which is my secondary computer, have that shut off, and the modem shuts off all at the same time. But my computer's still on. Weird story. They're all plugged into my 12 outlet watt box. Apparently, the watt box was having some sort of issue because it would shut. I don't know how many ports off, but I probably had 10 things plugged into this thing and would shut them off just all at the same time. So right then, when I was sitting here, I go, oh, okay, it's my watt box. No big deal. And I'm sitting here thinking, you would think being a computer person, having stuff available, that I would have an extra surge protector sitting around. No, I'm not a collector that collects surge protectors from, 1932. I'm just not that guy. When a surge protector starts to be looking old, it's time to get rid of it anyways. You shouldn't be using that on your expensive, computer equipment and entertainment stuff. So, anyways, I had to run up to Home Depot, got a 12 outlet surge protector temporarily until I can set the watt box in for warranty work because they do have a 5-year warranty on them. So it's about 2.5 years old. Anyways, sometimes you have to sit down and take a moment to figure out what's going on. And maybe that's sitting in front of the piece of equipment while you're doing something else to try to diagnose it. Because if I kept going in and out of the office, I might have looked at the modem itself and gone down a rabbit trail that wouldn't have solved my problem. But because I was sitting here and I had all these things shut off all at once, I'm like, I was able to hone in on the problem very quickly. So just a little tip there. That was my Sunday morning. And here we are streaming, and it's working out just lovely. All right.
Just a little trip to Home Depot.
Yeah, just a little trip to Home Depot. No problem. They're always open, right? All right. Let's take our first break of the show, and we're going to talk about TechCon Unplugged, which obviously Brad and myself will both be there. And it's bringing the IT community together. Join like-minded business owners for a weekend packed with resources to help your IT business thrive. Hear from experts and get one-on-one time with peers facing the same challenges that you are. And walk away with concrete action items to take your business to the next level. September 20th through the 22nd, 2019 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. If you are a part of this community and you've not gotten your tickets yet, what are you waiting for? Get your tickets. I guarantee you one thing, it's going to be a great time. We're going to be hanging out all weekend. Hotels are $102 a night. It's super cheap. All your meals are taken care of from Friday night, Saturday breakfast, Saturday lunch, and Saturday at Dave and Buster's for dinner, and then Sunday breakfast, Sunday lunch, Sunday evening, you're on your own. But we're going to take care of all that stuff so we can all stay together, play together, learn together, and have a great time. So go get your tickets now, techconunplugged.com. Sign up today and hope to see you there. All right, so how and why should we, or how and why should we set goals, I guess is the question. And this came up because I was going through one of my Google Drives on my business account, which I don't really use. I actually I didn't realize that I ever used that Google Drive, but apparently I had one document in there. And as I was going through my different Google Drives, I was actually trying to get to another one and I clicked on the wrong username and whatever. So it went into the Google Drive and I'm looking at it and I go, I wonder how old that thing is. But it was actually a goal sheet that a friend of mine had set up many, many, many years ago when we were talking about partnering in business together and doing some things together. And what I want to do is I want to go through some of these things and just kind of give you a highlight of what he was thinking about or what we were kind of thinking about back then. He wrote this document, I looked it over, and a lot of the things aligned for what we were trying to do at the time. And this was probably around 2011 or so, I would say this document was made. And so it was very interesting. But one of the things that it brought to mind is a lot of times we are constantly putting out fires. We are constantly working on things in our business, but we've never really taken the time to say, why are we doing this? What's the point? What's the end goal? Obviously, if your goals are very generic and to the point of, I want to make as much money as possible, that's not really a goal. That's what I would call a hope and a dream. Is what I would call that. A hope and a prayer, maybe. I don't know. But if you imagine, and this is for all you sports nuts out there, if you can imagine being in a basketball court and you've got 5 players on one side and 5 players on the other side, and you've got a basketball and you're running back and forth, but there's actually no baskets at the end of the play area. There's nowhere to shoot a ball, and you're just constantly running back and forth, passing the ball to your partners, getting it stolen from the other team. Nobody ever wins. All you do is have 10 people running around like chickens with their heads cut off, doing nothing. And that's how goal setting should be for you. You should be looking at, what do I want to get out of my business? What things do I need to do? And one of the things that came up last week, which kind of reiterated this, was Elizabeth Vanover, sorry, was on the show. And she basically was talking about marketing and how to get people started in marketing. And one of the things she talked about was getting some concrete information and then working it backwards. And that made a lot of sense to me, because if you look at the things that we need to do in order to get what we want, we've got to start thinking about this stuff. So I'm going to read the document here in a few minutes, but Brad, just give me a overhead view of what goal setting means to you and whether you've done it, haven't done it, kind of faux done it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you kind of you talk about marketing, and I have sat down with someone who was going to do some sales for me, and she's like, "What do you do?" And try to answer that question. What do you do? And it was actually really hard. It took us a long time to figure out how for me to tell her what to tell other people that we do for marketing. So that's just kind of like a side note of what you said. But as far as goal setting goes, the first thing I'll say about goal setting is that I should get better at goal setting. But I think of it kind of in two ways. One, you have a problem to solve, so you set a goal to solve a problem, or if you're being proactive, which we'd like to be, then you can set goals to proactively improve things. And that could be sales, that could be getting better at marketing, and or like scheduling out your week, or whatever those goals are. But that's kind of the two thing. I think that I don't officially sit down and set goals, but I think that I do, sort of like unofficially gonna like wake up one morning and realize that I'm really bad at scheduling, and decide that I'm going to get better at scheduling this week. I have my current goals. When I only started thinking about this because you sent me the topic.
Of course.
My current goals are to be better at billable hours. I think that I probably work somewhat for free in certain senses, as I'm like kind of maintaining stuff for customers, and I like either forget to bill or haven't structured the billing as well as I could. So that's one of my goals. And then I need to figure out how to keep this current intern / new employee busy and learning and motivated and happy, because he's awesome and I need to keep him around. So I've never had this exact situation, and I like really value this guy. I don't want to call him a kid, because he's about to turn 18. He's not a child, but he's pretty great. And I like have to become a better boss, I guess. Like he's happy. Right now he's very happy, but I want to make sure that I don't like fail him in any way. I want him to stick around forever and never leave. Like I will cry. he's awesome.
That's good.
So those are my two. Anyway, those are my two current goals right now.
Well, that's good. So what I want to do is we're going to take some time and we're going to go through this document. And what I want everybody that's listening to us right now is I want you to think about the goals that you have in your business and write them down. So whether you do this later or you're doing it while you're listening to the show, either way, go ahead and write it down and get these goals on a piece of paper. And then what I want you to do, or on a document or whatever. And what I'm going to do at the end, when you have a set of goals, after we go through some of these, I want you to send me your goals. And I want to look and see what people have come up with and what ideas and things that people are thinking about. So we're not just talking about something that's like, hey, you need to do this, and then nobody really does it. Let's keep a little accountability going here, and everybody write your goals down. I will do the same thing. And then what we can do is maybe we can share some of the highlighted ones. We won't use your names or anything like that. We can share some of the highlighted ones on the show at a different point and, give some people some ideas to think about. There's probably things you all are thinking about that I haven't even thought about. But here we go. Okay, so hey, Jeff, here is my thoughts on where, what, and how for TechNut. All just thoughts. Give me some feedback. This was my friend writing this. So obviously, where, what, and how. You have to have, where you're going to do it, how, what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it. Those three things are very important to making your goals and setting those. All right, so goals, 3 to 5 year goals. Now, you'll read a lot of books that'll say, 3 to 5 year goals. You got your long-term goals, you got your super long-term goals, you've got your short-term goals. Just putting anything down is going to be better than nothing. But here we go. 3 to 5 year goals. TechNut becomes largest computer repair company in Michigan. Now, here's a lot of people are going to go, whoa, who are you to say that you can become the largest computer repair company in Michigan? I'm whoever I want to be. You are whoever you want to be. If that's a desire, there's nothing wrong with writing that down. Now, Brad, what would you say to that? When you first heard that statement, what was your thought?
I say if I wanted to be the biggest computer company in like Orange County, let's say, then I could. If I wanted to go after that goal. That's not my personal goal. I like being kind of small and boutique-y, and, you know, whatever. Like, I have a very personal relationship with, and ongoing and frequent with, my customers. So I don't want to be the biggest computer repair company. But if I wanted to, I would go after that goal, and I would get after it, you know. It's just a different goal than what I have, but I could, if that was what I wanted to do, sure, do it.
Absolutely. I'm exactly like you. I like the smallish nature, the personal one-on-one, and I think you can do a lot more in business with that. But if you wanted to grow, you wanted to have multiple franchises, you wanted to have multiple stores, you wanted to have multiple employees. I mean,
Sure.
companies have done it, right? You can do it.
That'd be Geek. You know, I invented Geek Squad before Geek Squad was a thing.
That's right.
I'm not kidding. I really did. I had the exact, and I think I even called it almost the exact same name in my mind. And then it came out, and I was like, oh, man. All right. Well, then that's been done. We'll do it this way.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because thinking about goal setting and thinking about ideas that could come up that we don't do. In 1994, the same friend of mine, we're sitting there talking about pet insurance. Now, in 1994, there was no such thing as pet insurance.
No, that was ridiculous.
Who's gonna pay a monthly payment to have insurance for their pets? That's ludicrous. And sure enough, it was no more than a year and a half to 2 years later, all of a sudden, all these companies started doing pet insurance. It just made sense.
Yeah.
And we're like going, really? Go figure. All right. So the second one, now here's another big one. Now, again, this is a 3 to 5 year goals. Company large enough to support $100,000 plus salaries for president, you, and executive vice president of marketing, me. Cool titles, huh? Now, a lot of people, oh, wait a minute. You're not just looking for one person to have $100,000 year income. You're looking to promote this and have it so that you have minimum of two people with $200,000 a year incomes. Now, that is something, and here's what I'm going to say. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me. You can, as a solopreneur or a shop with employees or a managed service provider extraordinaire, or whatever you want to call yourselves, doesn't really matter. Any of those, you, in today's day and age, you can make $100,000 a year in your business if you choose to. And
Yes.
I'm not talking about gross profit, guys. Okay, you're gonna, in order to do that, you're probably looking at around $400,000 to $500,000 gross revenue coming in order to net you $100,000 a year income. But you can absolutely do it. So that's not outside the realm of what is possible. But I think because we never think about it in those terms, we think about, hey, I want to make as much money as I possibly can, but nobody wants to ever put a dollar figure on it. Well, again, you got that bow and arrow and you're just shooting out into the clouds because there's no target in front of you. You have nothing to aim for. You have nothing to hit. And that's what you've got to do, because it does something in your mind and takes your mind so that you can focus on the things that you need to do. And a lot of that's going to be reverse engineering to see how much business you got to pull in order to make that amount of money in your business. Now, hey, if you want to have all kinds of margin in your life and all kinds of time, and you only want to make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, you can absolutely do that too. If that's what you're comfortable with, that's not a problem. So again, there's, some people want time, because to make $100,000 a year in this business, especially as a solopreneur, it's going to take a little bit more time. It's going to take more than 40 hours a week. I'm going to tell you that. So you got to look at those things and figure out what's going to work for you and what you want to get out of it.
Yeah. And Jeff, so you and I were talking before about my situation, and so in the last year and a half, my business has afforded me freedom and time to be available for family and people that needed me. And now it's transitioning back into, actually, like, it's time to make some money. So now I'm focusing more on like rebuilding and getting back into where I need to be. So those are different goals that I had, and my business being independent was able to kind of get me whatever I needed out of it at the time. So now it's back to, hey, get those billable hours up and running, spend more time with clients, and so just a different mode. So,
And the other thing too is if you're doing this part-time and this is extra income, and this is what I've always said during my entire life of being married over 30 years, and we've been in a single income household. Now, with that being said, as far as a single income household, we have my main job, and we usually have some sort of side business going on the side that produces revenue to kind of boost our main income up. So again, whether it's hobby money, whether it's something that you want to actually add to the bottom line for your household, you can absolutely do that. You don't need to, you don't need to look at this and go, man, I want to go full time. This is what I want to do all the time. You can do it as a part-time thing. And it's, and there can be a lot of fun to be had with that too. So again, you got to figure out where you're at and what you want to do. And I agree. Somebody said in the chat room that you have to keep your goals realistic and obtainable. But I also want you to think, kind of think a little bit. I also want you to make goals that make you feel uncomfortable, because that's going to push you. So even if, here's the thing, you make a goal that's uncomfortable, you push yourself towards that, and let's say you fall short, but it's still going to be better than if you would have went for a minimum, right? So that's something to think about.
yeah, I would say don't push your goals so far out of reach that they're insane, and like you're personally never achieving a goal is very anxiety producing and stressful. And I don't like it. So I would like to, but definitely, yes, don't, like, yeah, can I make $20 this week? Yeah, of course you can make $20 a week. You probably go on the corner and ask, cars stopped at a red light for money, and you'll make $20 this week. But yeah, so, push it a little bit and make it, maybe step it up every week or something. What did I do last week that worked? Okay, let's do that more.
Right.
Stuff like that. So,
and that's a good point you brought up too, Brad, is you can always adjust your goals on the fly. Like you're not going to write a set of goals and you're going to live with those set of goals for the rest of your entire life. It doesn't work like that. You're going to constantly be adjusting things, and you're going to kind of figure out where do you want to be. And maybe this goal, I really don't want to pursue that. I want to pursue this other goal over here. So I'm going to switch this up. But again, it gives you a target in mind, it gives you something to think about, and your mind automatically starts trying to figure out what you got to do to get to whatever that goal is. It's almost like magic. The human brain is very very unique. It's that's why I kind of poo-poo the whole AI thing. There'll never be anybody as smart as human beings.
Oh yeah, I mean, all you need to do is stop thinking about a problem, and your brain will come up with the answer.
Yes.
There's no AI algorithm that's like that, where you just like don't work on a problem and then it gets solved. No.
Exactly. All right, here's another third one. And this is have a small office. Again, 3 to 5 year goals. Have a small office where you can work, where we can work, south of Brighton, north of Canton. He lives up north of me. And obviously I'm in Canton, halfway between where we plan on living. We should look at moving within 30 minutes of each other. So again, these are very, if you look at these goals, these are very specific goals. Now, some people might look at that information and go, well, what's the point in that? Again, gives you an idea, gives you some things to think about. All right. Before we move on, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get back into this. I find this topic fascinating, and I don't know why we haven't talked about it before. But anyways, our show today is brought to you by BusyBench. Remember when running your business was simple? BusyBench sure does. Wouldn't it be nice to quickly create a repair ticket, generate an invoice with a single click, and manage thousands of customers completely free of charge? Absolutely, yes, it would. BusyBench thinks you will enjoy adding an unlimited number of customers, invoices, estimates, and inventory items so much that you might forget we have paid features too. But don't worry, when your business grows and you need things like SLA alerts, payment processing, and recurring subscriptions, BusyBench will be with you every step of the way. Turn a ticket into an invoice with a single click. If you added inventory items to the ticket, they will be added to the invoice as well. New invoicing module allows you to track when a customer opens an invoice and determines when it was viewed. Additionally, customers can pay that same invoice online. Makes your life and their life easier. Manage your assets with predefined metrics and customization options. Easily track everything from customer serial numbers to login passwords and device details from a single location. Receive daily digest recapping all of your activities, such as tickets created, invoices generated, and payments received. Go to busybench.com and start your free account today. When you decide to upgrade, use the offer code Podnutz for 30% off the life of your account. All right. So going back into, so those were the 3 to 5 year goals that we were looking at. Now let's talk about, we need some immediate goals. We need some things that are a little shorter term, something we can see, maybe something that's not as radical as, $200,000 a year of income and, having an office and all this kind of stuff. All right. Number one, determine pricing structure on basic items. Determine work pay rate for tech work and sales work. Again, this almost goes back to the reverse engineering. Okay, we got to figure out what we're going to charge for the things that we do in our business. Pretty simple, right? Brad, what's your thought on that?
Oh, I've made so many price lists and stuff, and then I forget, and so somebody asks, but I've definitely made like some good price lists. So you gotta like know like what are you going to charge, and then once you know what you can charge for, then you can start looking at marketing towards the things that make you the most money, like stuff like that. It's good.
Exactly. All right. So number 2 would be complete standard operating procedures on basic functions. In other words, this is the thing where, again, checklists and other things would be good to have in order to do a not only consistent business for yourself and have checks and balances, but also when you're training somebody else to do something, you can basically give them a checklist of things that you know how to do, and then they can go ahead and do that too.
Are you doing a Mike McAllowitz advertisement right now? read some Mike McAllowitz books. That's exactly what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny. This actually probably came out before his second book, anyways. All right. So number 3, I should say, build work 3 to 4 marketing items successfully. In other words, basically what he was saying, and I vaguely remember this when we were going through it years ago, but basically, okay, what types of things you're going to market? So as a technician, business owner, a lot of people want to market everything that they do. And again, this is why I get on people and they go, people will advertise, I'm a managed service provider. And all the users out there, all the companies all over the world go, what's that? Because they have no idea. So that's not where your marketing effort goes. It's like, I clean viruses. Now, okay, people are may or may not know what a virus is. And a lot of times when people try to diagnose their own things, they're way off anyways. It could have been a hardware failure or whatever. So again, these things, I do virus removal. That's like going, hey, listen, I'm going to fix your computer. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to make sure that your network is running 100% or 99.9% all the time, except for when things fail. And then we've got to deal with those. Not a big deal. But my job is to make your life easier. And so you got to market to those things of what you're going to do for your end customer, so in a way that they can understand it. So that's kind of what he was talking about, is having 3 to 4 marketing things there that you could really hone in on and say, this is what this company is. This is what we do.
And just, this isn't on your doc, but if I was a residential person right now, I would definitely market better Wi-Fi over virus removal. Every residential customer probably needs both, but better Wi-Fi is a more like actionable item that people want. Like, oh, my Wi-Fi is awful, I hate it, so they'll grab onto that marketing term, and you actually could make a more, like an improvement in their life. And then also it actually probably makes you more money anyway. Like you get to sell them some better Wi-Fi hardware, you get to sell them on some services, and then they'll use you for everything ever for the rest of their life. Like they'll love you because you made their Wi-Fi better. So anyway, I digress.
No, that's good. That's good. And that's exactly what I'm talking. So again, these thought process, think outside the box a little bit. Think about what it is you want to hone in on. Try not to think as a technician when you're doing these. Try not to think as
You gotta
even
think
as
like
a
a
business
person.
owner. Yeah. Think as a normal person, if you can do that. Or you know what? Hey, ask normal people and they'll tell you. Okay. So let's see. Income goals. $300 per week net profit for each of us. Okay. After paying all expenses and saving up capital to build in inventory parts. Okay. 300. So $600 a week net profit. So obviously that will give you an idea of when you're thinking about what you need to charge. And this is always the question. What do I charge? What do I charge? What can I charge? You're going to need to charge something, and you're going to need to figure out what costs come off of that. What was your advertising on that? What's your cost to capture a customer, brand new customer? There's all these different things that you got to figure out on what's left over after everything's been paid. Software, tools, etc., parts, all that kind of stuff. And so again, it's that reverse engineering where you can reverse engineer. Now your mind is captured in looking at something a certain way, and all of a sudden you can go, I'm going to reverse engineer that and make it so that I got to figure out exactly how many computers or networks or businesses I need to touch in order to have this amount of revenue come in on a weekly basis.
Yep, and that's hard. I've been allowed to get lazy in this respect because I have a very specific, like, steady client base, etc. So I don't have to chase marketing and things like that. But in a previous life, I was a restaurant food cost expert for large chain restaurants. I had to basically like calculate the cost and profitability of every single plate that leaves the kitchen. So I have created some pretty crazy Excel spreadsheets that calculate an average cost of, okay, just take iced tea. How much does it cost to serve a glass of iced tea? Well, there's the cost of the tea bag and how many average, but then what's the average waste? Because at some point you don't serve all of the tea in that brew that you just made. Some of it gets thrown away, so you have to figure out how much you lost and average that into how many you actually get to sell. And then people have a packet of sweetener. So you have to do these like really insane studies to on a nationwide basis calculate like how much it costs to serve a glass of iced tea. I haven't done that for my business, like translated that amount of insanity. over, but you could start thinking like that and go, okay, yeah, like you said, marketing, how many Google AdWords views do I typically have a month versus how many convert into a customer? And I pay for Google G Suite, and that's my business platform. So kind of amateur. I'm not going to even be able to say this word, amateurized. Anyway, I'm going to spread that out across my customer base and stuff like that. Like you can kind of start. You don't have to be crazy. Like I was doing this for a corporation, they were paying me a lot of money to do it, so fine. But you should start looking into those things and then decide what your billing rate's going to be and how it's going to maybe pay for. Well, yeah, you want to know how much money you're making. We were talking about goals. You want to make $100,000 a year in your pocket, not your business. Then work backwards from there and make sure that you're setting prices and marketing towards getting the business that you need to get there. So,
Very well said. So one of the things too, when you're talking about things like Google AdWords and the cost of acquisition, what does it cost to get a brand new customer? And actually, when I was using Google AdWords years ago, my cost of acquisition, because somebody asked me the question and I didn't know at the time. So I went and took everything into account, taxes, all the different things that you do, and then the advertising, all the different ways that I was doing advertising and this, that, and the other. I took all these numbers and basically the acquisition cost for a brand new customer for myself working out of my home using Google AdWords was $25. So I get a new customer. Let's say that customer, let's say my normal ticket, my average ticket, maybe for especially a residential repair is $100. Let's just say no hardware involved, $100. I'm going to take $25 right off the top of that. But here's the thing: when you look at those customers, now that builds up my clientele base, right? So I've got a certain amount of clients that I build over time that keep coming back to me, or I can upsell them certain things in their business. And so that's the other thing too. A lot of times when we're thinking about, and I think this is why we do this, we don't really set goals because we're just kind of like, we grab a customer, we're one and done. If they come back, great. If they don't, great. I don't really care. But if you want to have that and cultivate the relationship with your customer, you need to figure out, okay, how am I going to interact with this customer again to not just pay you money, but for you to be able to take care of something that they need taken care of, that maybe even at this point, they don't know they need taken care of. And you're not letting them get to the point where all of a sudden it's too late. And there's some big thing that's destroyed their last 10 years worth of digital photos. And there's no prayer of even getting that back. Maybe there's something you could have done to say, hey, put this in place. Now that's their choice to say yes or no. And that's a whole nother discussion. But you want to think about these things because it's important.
yeah, and like I've said at the beginning of this conversation, I didn't think about goals until we had this topic, this show, but I definitely had a goal set at some point to tighten my regional footprint as far as my support customers go. I wanted to be within 10 minutes of drive time to all of my customers. I had, at one point, I was stretched 2 hours in both directions, north and south. And so if I had to, let's say, which really did happen, I had to be at both customers' locations on the same day. That's just an all day living in the car and driving and not being able to get to either customer fast enough for them to be happy about it. Everything about that sucked. And that was the worst day I've ever, like, it was a terrible day. And so I then made it a goal to shrink my footprint regionally and now I All of my customers are in the same zip code almost. I mean, it's it's awesome. Let me tell you, going from a 16-hour a day and most of it related to driving to try to service like 2 or 3 customers to I can now literally service like 10 customers in a day. Just boom, 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 boom. And I sometimes don't even have to get back in my car. I can walk between them, and that's it. It's good. I really, really appreciate it. And that was a goal that I set. It's just, let's tighten this up. And then repeat business. Let's spend a little bit more time with a customer, try to find out what their desires are or maybe pain points are, and get more. Yeah, like it's upselling, but it's also like maybe they didn't think to ask you why they can't print from their phone or something, or whatever. So you kind of like ask a little more questions, you look around, you investigate a little bit more, you spend a little bit of time, and then you get more repeat business. So those 2 goals were, because basically I don't like marketing. I hate marketing. I want to do everything I can to like make it so I don't have to do marketing. And that means just being better at creating relationships and being close to my customers.
Sorry, Liz.
And it's just because I suck at it. It's not marketing's bad.
No, marketing is good, and you do need marketing. It's just funny that I'm with you though. I have no desire for marketing whatsoever. That's just me personally.
I think of marketing differently. I'm wearing a shirt with my logo on it, and I consider that marketing.
It is. It absolutely is.
It is.
And so one of the things you said too about, tightening down your area and having a goal for that. Again, I think a lot of people will sometimes think that the larger customer base I could possibly have in a metropolitan area, instead of, they're looking at millions of people, but having to travel upwards of an hour and a half to take care of customers. I just don't think that's feasible in everybody's business. I don't think it's necessary. Now, what will end up happening just normally is you'll get a company, and that company will have a base where you're at, but then they will have all these other outshoots of that same company in different areas. And those you might have to travel to. But guess what? The mothership is still based where you're at. So a lot of the stuff goes on there. You might have to travel every once in a while. But yeah, I used to do, especially on the residential side, I did one 45-minute trip, and I just looked at myself and went, are you nuts? So I'm with you. I'm like, no more than 15 minutes. And most of my customers are within like less than a 10-minute drive. It's the way I like it. I can get to them at any point. Not a big deal.
Yep.
Good points.
Well, and you get an hour and a half away from your other customer, and then they call you and they're like, hey, our network's down and we're totally hosed and we can't do business. And you're like, even if I stopped driving and immediately turned around, I'm still 2 hours away from you. So
exactly.
I don't want to be in that I just don't want to be in that situation,
All right. So let's take another quick break, and then we will go into, we'll continue this subject a little bit more. We're about halfway through my document. Our show today is brought to you by Untangle Next Generation Firewall, designed to provide your small to medium business customers with the easiest, most cost-effective solution for network security. Untangle is the fastest way to add cybersecurity to your service offerings. We've taken enterprise-grade security and put it into a platform that makes it easy to get started risk-free. There's no steep learning curve with Untangle. Instead, you'll get a browser-based dashboard that lets you see the status of your managed networks at a glance. You'll enjoy on-the-box reporting included at no extra cost. Plus, customizable alerts that integrate easily with apps like PagerDuty and VictorOps makes it simple to stay on top of any incidents that do occur. Untangle NG Firewall not only protects your clients with gateway antivirus, spam blocking, and intrusion prevention, but also gives you control over traffic at the application level with web content filtering, app control, and full SSL inspection. You also get WAN optimization features like balancing, failover, and bandwidth control. Whether you need VPN options or a captive portal for secure Wi-Fi, Untangle NG Firewall has everything you want in a single solution. With lots of freebies like centralized management with zero-touch provisioning and a cloud threat intelligence scan for a second layer of defense included at no extra cost. There's no better choice than Untangle for getting visibility into and control over network traffic, helping your clients safely connect to the internet for their business critical applications. Visit untangle.com/podnuts today to get a free, no obligation trial of NG Firewall and save 15% on any purchase with the promo code Podnutz. All right, so let's talk about now. So we talked about 3 to 5 year goals. We talked about 1 year goals. We talked about what your expectations are, and everybody's expectations should be different. You shouldn't be doing things the way I'm doing them 100%. You shouldn't be doing things the way Brad's doing them 100%. You have to figure out what's going to work with you. All right, so let's talk about marketing ideas to build market share in repair. Hardware repairs, what you're doing now. Remote repairs, sell yearly support packages. Now, again,
Yes, you should do that.
This was way before the word MSP ever came out. Things that we'd seen work in other businesses for a bazillion years, and said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's sell those packages. New computer setups, business startup package. This was when Google Apps first came out, before it was G Suite and all that, and it was becoming really popular. And what was happening back then is a lot of people were getting into Google Apps, but they were setting it up 100% wrong. So this is one of our business models. We looked at, hey, how do we get them set up properly, get them a domain and all that kind of stuff, and set them up so that they're not calling with these stupid questions because we've already set them up and they don't have to worry about it. Let's see, expand Google AdWords to my area. Online tournaments. Yeah, we were talking about doing some LAN tournaments for fun.
That was a thing.
It was. Yeah, nowadays pretty much everybody does that from their home. Reseller program for Norton, Super Anti Spyware, et cetera, et cetera. Reseller of Carboniter, Squarespace warranties. Small company computer support. Online school for computer users. Data backup. Maybe a small server farm. Yeah, no way. But at the time, yeah, at the time, yeah, maybe. Contract for repairs that Best Buy, Staples, Office Max can't handle. Now, here's a little thing. A lot of people don't realize this, but I actually had several customers, and I got them through Best Buy. And here's why. When back in the day, when somebody would walk into a Best Buy and they would say, "Hey, I need my computer fixed," they'd be, "That's fine. Listen, it's going to be $199 to sign up for our yearly program before we even look at it." And your average bill coming out of Best Buy was probably back then around $400. So you want a screen replacement? No problem. Cracked screen, $199. We're going to give you our antivirus, remote support, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to charge you, $320 to fix the screen. So you're looking at, $520.
Yeah.
So what was happening is these people were like going, I could buy a new computer. Best Buy knew that. They could walk over 2 shelves over and buy a brand new laptop.
Sell you the computer, sell you the service. They don't care.
Exactly. And so they probably would have got you for the computer, the service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if your computer was only a few years old, then that was something that was probably worth replacing. And I think back then I was doing screen repairs, 125, and that was with the screen. I had a really good resource for screens, and it was literally a 20-minute job. So $125, 20-minute job. Screens were about $40. Not a bad return on investment at the time. So anyways, what would end up happening is these sales, these guys sitting behind the Geek Squad counter, they I guess they would feel bad, and they would look up a local computer guy or gal. And they just happen to call me, or, hey, call this guy. He can probably take care of you. It used to happen all the time. It was hilarious.
I used to, so It's funny. I was talking to this about with my intern. I used to wear a button-down, long-sleeve business attire, suit and a tie almost, without the jacket because that's a little too much. But I would wear, a nice shirt and a tie every day, and I ended up scrapping that intentionally because my customers weren't wearing suit and tie, and I could feel from them that they felt that I was like kind of overdressed and it was a little bit much. And also I didn't like it. So, but anyway, so I would go to Micro Center wearing a suit and a tie, and customers at Micro Center would assume that I worked there and come up to me all the time. And I actually got a couple of customers that way because I'd be like, hey, look, I'm not here to poach customers. I'm literally just here buying a Switch. But you're asking me a question, and the advice that I heard the guy give you is wrong. uh, so I will help you. Here's my card. I like this store. I don't really want to like be here poaching customers and kind of, like they probably don't like that. But here's my card. Like, just call me if you have questions, and then I would get some callbacks that way. It could be a way to market. I think that the store would frown upon it.
I agree.
It's probably not the best thing to do, but it is a way. Just dress nice and go to Best Buy.
Oh, all right. So one of the last notes that we had on marketing and thought process for doing your goals: build and develop gaming rigs that smoke Alienware or other brands.
Anthony.
Exactly. Again, not that hard to do, and Anthony just blows it out of the water when he's putting together rigs, and his rigs are beautiful. They blow everything. Every boutique brand I've ever worked on, his just blow them away. Just blow them away.
Yep.
So, anyways, and here's another thing. Now, there was people, I remember back in the day when Anthony first came on the show years ago, and they said, Anthony, there's absolutely no way that you can build a business around building gaming rigs or high-end rigs for CAD programs, et cetera, et cetera.
No, I said that. And
you were the one that said that.
Yeah, no, that was me, and I was wrong. Very wrong. He's doing just fine.
Yeah.
And I'm wrong.
I remember having a conversation with him. I go, dude, you can do whatever it is you put your mind to do. If that's what you want to do. There'll be naysayers that will tell you you can't build a business around this. You can build a business around whatever you want. I totally forgot it was you, Brad, to be honest.
No, totally me. No, it's funny that we're now like talking about this later, and it was it was definitely me. I told him, I'm like, well, I didn't say don't do it, but I was like, dude, are you sure? Are you really sure that this is what you want to do? Because I don't know if this is gonna. Anyway, I did a lot of that, and then he just did it anyway, and he didn't listen to me. And I was like, no, but make sure like you have a plan, because this just doesn't seem like a thing you should do. And he was right, and I was wrong, and that's fine. I'm okay saying that.
There you go. Well,
I'm happy to say that.
That's how we learn too, right? We learn that not everything that we think in how to do business is always going to be the right thing. Somebody's going to come along, I don't know, a guy that drops out of school and steals an operating system and it becomes a multi-bazillion-dollar company or whatever. Or a kid that tries to make a social act for, catching up with girls, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're all tied into Facebook. Go figure. Yeah. It's like, oh, you could have told, this is such a stupid idea. What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time coding this stuff? Okay. Or the guy sitting in his garage going, yeah, you know what? I'm going to sell books out of my garage and I'm going to send them everywhere, all over the United States. That's why I'm gonna package them here. I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna ship them out. I'm gonna do all this stuff. Yeah. Jeff Bezos is laughing all the way to the bank. So again, I can guarantee you there was probably at least 100 people that told each of these people that the idea you're doing is stupid. Don't do it. And I guarantee you that these guys had a goal in mind of what they were trying to achieve. Now, did they see it to the nth degree that it was? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they thought it was a good idea. Let's make some side income. But I can tell you, at some point, they had to have some goals because that business kept snowballing and growing and moving and shaking, and it was doing what it needed to do. That wasn't just by pure dumb luck. I can guarantee you that. There was some thought process that went into that, and there came a point where they took it real seriously and said, "Ooh, we got something here. Let's move ahead with this." And that's
Yeah.
really how you should treat each of your businesses in everything that you do. Treat it as if you have something that's worthwhile and you're going to make your stab into the marketplace to support the customer base that you want to support.
So I think you kind of have to decide like what kind of a business do you want. I like an intimate business. I have an intimate relationship with my customers, and they kind of call me every day, and it's almost like I work directly for them. I just don't, and that's what I want. But someone else might want like kind of an empire, and they want to own like this big thing that's way bigger beyond what I want, and that's also super cool. Like if that's what you want, and then if that's where you're going, then you want to set goals. One of Jeff Bezos's goals is to basically have whatever minuscule percentage it is. He wants a percentage of every financial transaction on the globe. It's one of his written down goals. It's probably written in lipstick on his mirror, like when he brushes his teeth in the morning. That's literally something he's got written down, is he just wants to own a little piece of every financial transaction in the world. So that's something that he put down on paper, and then Amazon is what came of it. Cool. He did that. He followed a goal. He'll never achieve that goal, but he chased it to the extent that it's now Amazon. So good for him. I think he flip-flops for like the wealthiest man alive. I can't remember for sure, but something like that. Cool. I just want to wake up every day and be happy. I don't know. Like my goals are very different than Jeff Bezos, but anyway, so you just pick your goals based on where you want to go. Do you want to set them so high that you'll never reach them, or do you want to set them that high and like actually try to shoot for it? I'm not going to tell you no. People have done it, or just I don't know. You pick the level, and maybe just ratchet it up every few weeks or something, and you'll get there. You'll always be moving forward.
Exactly. And that's a good point too. Always be moving forward. All right, I'll run through the list of the rest of this real quick, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the other things that were put down on paper, some of the things that you can think about for your own goals and what you've got to figure out for your business. Small business package Google Apps at the time. You can use Office 365, whatever. Domain name we buy from Google under TechNut PC account. Company email set up for up to 5 employees at $10 per person, over 5 up to 99. Again, lofty goal. Not something I would be looking forward to today. I don't want 99 customers in one business, but hey, it's there. Company intranet, which includes shared documents, shared calendars, shared links. Again, setting the things up back then that were not as common as they are today. You'll see how old this document here is in a minute. Syncs with computer and smartphones. Internet available in any internet connected computer business phone number. Google Voice, unlimited minutes, no monthly fees. Works on your cell phone. Also save money on dedicated lines. Works on iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry.
BlackBerry. There you go.
One-time fee of $109, a yearly renewal fee of $19.99 for domain name. So we're going to charge them, $200 to get a domain and basically set it up, which it was a whole 10-minute process back then. And then charge them yearly just to renew, make a little bit of residual income on that. Bonus. I love you put this in the bonus section. Okay, TechNut Platinum Tech Support, 50% off first year. Okay, Platinum Tech Support. This is before all your big name MSPs actually ever even started moving from the standard, whatever it was, bronze, silver, and gold. This was years before that. My buddy had already come up with platinum.
Way ahead of his time. Even a level of metal ahead.
Exactly. So there you go. Anyways, 50% off first year, regular $79 per hour, only $39 per hour, remote only. Let's see. Need help setting up company server, stop employees from accessing unauthorized websites such as eBay, job boards, or pornography. Control and monitor your employees' emails. If they leave company, you don't lose clients. Perfect low cost for small office, home office, or low tech companies. All right. So I just want to run through that list. Again, when I read through this document, it made me smile because there was a lot of things that were not even terms back then that, he was thinking about at the time when we were talking about doing a business venture together. And so some of those goals, a lot of you would look at and say, man, those are some pretty lofty goals. I don't know if I can dream that big. But here's the thing, you got to start somewhere. And if you don't put a goal down, you're not really chasing anything. You're not getting your mindset in the habit of being able to figure out how you're going to get to that. And here's the thing. The reason most people don't set goals and the reason January 1st comes around every year and everybody works out for 2 weeks and then stops is because you set a goal and you're afraid that you're going to fail. You only fail when you decide to stop moving forward with whatever it is you're doing. That's the only time you fail. I've lost more money than most people will ever imagine in their lifetimes. It's just part of doing business. And no, not in this business. It was other businesses. But the reality is I had friends that would come up to me and go, dude, how in the world are you so calm? I'm like, what am I going to do? The only thing I can do at this point is to keep moving forward. If I do anything less than that, I'm doing nothing. And therefore, that instead of having a life experience that I learned from, I have a life experience that would change me in a negative way. I didn't want that. So my only choice, in my opinion, was to move forward. Not going to lay down on the ground and wet on myself. Doesn't work that way. Not for me. So these are the things that you have to be able to realize that you're going to set goals. You're going to fail. You're going to fall short. But as long as you keep getting back up and moving forward, it's okay. You'll still get closer than if you don't set anything at all. That is a 100% guarantee. I'm telling you this, 100% guarantee you will not hit the goals that you don't aim for, period. I don't understand how the mind works, but that's just the way that I know it works in our human brains.
I mean, you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, and that's not a great example because your odds of winning the lottery don't improve when you buy a ticket. But anyway, I have a friend who two quick anecdotes. He came with me like 10 years ago. I had to buy a car, so I went and bought a car. I went to a dealership. I looked at one car. It was the car I wanted, and I liked it, and everything about it was exactly what I wanted. So I bought that. I bought it. Yes, this is what I want. I'm happy. Is this the terms? Okay, cool. Buy the car. He's like, I don't know how you just did that. Like, I would have agonized over this for like a week, and then somebody else probably would have bought the car. I'm like, well, no, but it was the car I wanted. It had all the things that I liked, that I needed, and I bought the car. Like, what are you talking about? And then the same friend years later is like, he was mostly asking about my kids, but he was also referring to business. He's like, how do you survive every day with the amount of stress you must have? Like, just thinking about your kids and your job and your, I'm like, I guess I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I do have like sure, I have anxiety and things, but you just make sure that what you're doing is right, and then you can kind of like move on, you know? You don't have to sit there and stress out about it every day. But um but yeah, anyway, it was an interesting conversation I had with him the other day. It was where he was just like asking me how I survive.
We do what we got to do in order to, keep on keeping on. And that's the number one thing that everyone, I think, needs to remember. What I would implore everybody to do at this point is, if you do not have, or if you do have, your goals written down in some form or fashion, and they can be as simple or as elaborate as you want, write them down, write something down. And then what I would encourage you to do is, please send them to me, podnutz@podnutz.com, because I want to look over these and kind of, maybe talk about them in a future episode. And, if you don't want me to use your name, that's fine. I can keep all that stuff anonymous, not a big deal. But I think it would be interesting to see where everybody is at and what they're thinking about, and maybe their thought process, and maybe some of the things we haven't even thought about as far as goal setting. And this could be, you got to remember, this is not just about business. You could do this about your personal life. You could do this about, anything that you come in contact with. It's just, it's very important to have something to shoot at. So, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to evaluate the things that, whether it be with the podcast, my business, my work, whatever. I want to put some goals down, family, all that kind of stuff, into maybe come back at a later date and elaborate on some of that, of where my thought process is now, today, that, versus where it was years ago, and what I want to do, monetary wise, and building my business and all that. So,
Robert in the chat has a nice mention that I will share. If you don't stress about stress, you will have less stress. Oh, did you just? Yeah.
yeah,
There
look
you
at
go.
that. Hey,
Look, that's pretty cool.
that is pretty cool. We can add that to the live feed. There you go.
And it's very true. It is what it. I mean, that's everything in itself makes sense.
Very good, Robert. Appreciate that. So, the other thing I'm really digging this. This is a little side tangent, but I'm really digging this StreamYard. I'm learning some of the things that you can do, and it gives me some of the same controls I had with Google Hangouts on Air, and it gives us some extra things that we can actually do. And I think this is it's going to be a good platform moving forward. I know they're iterating it and making it better, and there's a whole Facebook group on it. So, anyways, working for us, and we're still using YouTube. So
sometimes there's a reason that things happen, Jeff.
absolutely. And that's the other thing too. I'm glad you brought that up. And my last note will be, when things happen to you, and things will happen to you in your life, you have to look at those things and figure out exactly, well, I guess not worry about them, number one, but you also got to figure out what's the best use of your time to do with the things that you have, that come after you or come against you. And you've got to go, okay, am I going to keep moving forward? Am I going to take this and learn from it? Am I going to be better at the end of the day because I've had this thing? And the other thing too is, I tell people this all the time, and maybe a lot of people don't understand, but when I don't agonize over a lot of decisions, because when I make the decision, it's always the right decision. It may not look like the right decision at the time, It may not feel like the right decision at the time, but it always works out to my favor. Why were you laughing?
I laugh because I'm always right. Um, if you ask me, just ask me. I
Yeah,
would tell you I'm
absolutely.
always right. And most of the time, I do make the right decisions. And a lot of times, when I tell people like, "Hey, this is what this is what it is," and then they don't do what I said, it turns out I was right. So anyway, I was laughing because I am basically always right, and
One of the things I love in today's day and age is, especially with older kids, and I never solicit advice to my adult children that are outside of my house. Now, inside my house, that's a whole different thing. Inside my house, I don't care how old you are, you're under my rules, period. Or you're no longer under my house. But my older kids will have done things and they're like, Dad, you said this was going to happen. And darn it, why are you always so right?
yep,
Yeah.
it's so hard being so smart. No, no,
Because I've been through the same stuff that you're going through and I made the same stupid decisions. All I'm
yeah,
giving you is the advice that I wish somebody would have given me. And here's the thing, even the advice that people gave me, I still didn't follow. I wanted to learn it the hard way. And so it's normal, but at least I can sit back and I'll never say that I told you so, but I told you so.
yeah. And if I'm doing it for my own self, like my own business, my own life, for some reason I'm not as much of a genius. I don't know, but if I'm telling you what to do, I am always right, and it's a weird place to be because I'm like, no, if I was this smart, why don't I have like $5 million? Like I don't understand, but
Exactly.
yeah,
We can always learn something new for sure. All
yep,
right, Brad, I think this has been a great topic and what a great guest to have on and share because you brought up a lot of good points to what we're talking about today. And I really appreciate that. If people wanted to find out more about you and where you're at, where would they do that?
well, they can always email me directly at brad@ttcscomputerservices.com. You can try to get a hold of me on Facebook in the CRP group. Kind of anyone who's in there will know that I sort of like answer 5 or 10 threads and like reply a lot and then kind of disappear for a month because I don't really like using Facebook a lot. So I try to participate as much as I can. But anyway, you can always just reach me at my email. So there you go.
Awesome. And we'll have that information in the show notes for sure. Come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnuts.com/CRP live. Join in on the conversation by hanging out in the chat room. You can send an email to podnuts@podnuts.com. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on the Computer Repair Podcast.